Hello everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and that you're doing well. For this video we'll be continuing our page through the Imperium, well the old Imperium magazine with issue 18, and Imperium was set for the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Hard to imagine we're getting close to the 20th issue and yet still far away from its final issue. So going straight into the magazine, so here we have issue number 18, going back to some Necron theming with a nice CGI shot of the Technomancer, which so happens to be the included model here. So there's an example of a completed Technomancer all painted up. So in terms of the issue, we'll get some information about the Technomancer, probably some story information about the Drukhari, as well as rules for the Technomancer. So probably safe to say issue 18 from a build perspective, painting perspective, probably initial story, or maybe not story, just mini information, will be very Technomancer themed. So there we go, breakdown of the issue. Technomancer, 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 more Technomancer. And we'll have some information for the Space Marines regarding Tools of War, the Drukhari as a faction, and there will be a short story about the March of the Machines, which will obviously be Necron themed. So, Technomancer, command units for the Necrons, the Cryptek Commander. So there will be a Staff of Light, which has come a long way since my early days. There's a Canoptic Cloak, which I'm sure in-game probably bestows an invulnerable save. That's my guess anyway. Cryptic enhancements, and yeah, it does look very cool. I do like how there's this cryptic construct here on the bottom as well. Although looking at that, if I was to paint this in the actual scheme I was thinking of, I'm beginning to wonder if that would be too much black in a single area. Battle record on the very back of that page, so information about, well, some war gear details, battle record. So basically just adding some interesting flair to the unit character. Tools of War, power armor. So we're looking at some of the Space Marine armor here. So the main power armor, Terminator armor, and then some of the more recent armors, thanks to Belisarius' call and the primary Space Marine. So we have Tacticus armor, yes, Tacticus armor, Omnis armor, Phobos armor, and Gravis armor. To be honest, I'm still not a huge fan of the Phobos armor. I'm also not a huge fan of some of these weird flying Space Marines, but anyway. Factions, the Drukhari, formerly the Dark Elder, at least when I was first introduced to them back in 3rd edition. And at some point in time I do want to have a small Drukhari army as well. I do actually have their combat patrol, which I think is going to be progressively phased out, with the potential that a new one may be announced at the end of this year. Maybe. Time will tell. But yeah, story about the Drukhari. And then March of the Machines. So I can see a little reference here to the Pariah Nexus. So yes, obviously some of this stuff will be good to catch up on when the time comes. But as I've mentioned in previous videos, I don't go reading through this content during this page through. Plus the last thing I want to do is trigger some infringement notices. How to build a Technomancer. So pretty much as we are used to, clipping components off, the components as they are, spire legs, etc. How to build, get a 50mm base, which we'll see in a minute. Bottom of the Technomancer. And then pretty much continuing on, in fact that bottom of the Technomancer seems to be that cryptic base item. Does look cool. So that's putting the Technomancer together, and then how to paint. So we'll see obviously a lot of those paints from previous issues once again returned for the painting. So going through each of those that we have been given thus far. I keep forgetting we've got Agrax Earthshade now, so we can obviously do some shading. So that's the completed Technomancer based on the paints provided thus far. Definitely tabletop ready to a certain degree. Is it fully finished? No, and I suspect we'll come back to some of these models in future issues as we get more paint. Okay, playthrough, mission. Necron Technomancer, Primaris Aggressors. So this will be interesting. I'm sure the Technomancer will probably end up having a definitive edge. The setup and the relevant data sheets. So Technomancer, Primaris Lieutenants. That's interesting. I don't know why I mentioned. Oh, I guess the aggressors can probably come through later. Necrons will have turn 1. So it looks like we've got the Technomancer, and I'm trying to tell what these other units are. Are these the Scorpec destroyers from a previous issue? Quite possibly. Probably doesn't help that I'm like skipping bits and pieces of information. Then we've got the Space Marines, so yes, we do have some of the aggressors and the lieutenant. There's a lot of fire happening right there, and yes, they are the Scorpec destroyers, and they did take some damage. That was turn 1, then going into turn 2 phase, back to the Necrons, with some movement and shooting. Looks like no fatalities so far. Interestingly, there is something about the Canoptic Cloak. And then just the end of the Necron turn 2 with a charge and fight sequence. Looks interesting. Could be very much neck and neck. So that was that. We do get a new battle mat with this particular issue, which we'll see in a minute. So what do we have here? Battle mat, new models, new paints, new scenery. Actually, I surprisingly read through this. We'll see the battle mat in a minute. So included with this issue is a new battle mat depicting the war zone which your Necrons and the forces of the Imperium will battle over in issues 21 through to 40 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium. So we will start seeing the Adeptus Mechanicus. So between issues 21 and 40 there will be parts of those. I also believe we probably start getting some of the sisters. It looks like we have something about reverse mat, so issue 4 and issue 18. Well, issue 18 is pretty much the mat here. Oh, so issue 4's mat could even make a larger... What do we have here? In addition to providing a thematic battlefield for you to do battle on, your new battle mat can also be reversed, allowing you to place your own terrain and create your own exciting war zones to fight over. Both sides of the battle mat can be slotted together to allow bigger games on a much larger battlefield. And it looks like we have issue 4, issue 18 making a larger one. Necrons, so it looks like the theme of this is what? The assault on Cyphos, assuming the T is silent. Back of the issue, coming soon, the third and final Minotaurum armored container. So we will eventually have 3 of those. And then issue 20, we actually go back to some paints. So we'll get a Corn Red and Troll Slayer Orange, one bigger base, one bigger layer. So yes, not too far before we hit the 20s. Issue 19, because of the way my subscription was, will be a price point summary as well. So that was issue 18. Probably took a little bit longer because there was some interesting stuff there. Yeah. Let's see if I can actually try and do bits of this battle mat. So it's not on, it's on a decent stock. I don't know how much of this I can unfold without obviously causing too much of a ruckus. Actually, this is a very big battle mat. So this is one example of one side of the battle mat. Definitely not too bad, which is interesting. As of the point of recording this, it was Warhammer for me. Basically Warhammer at work. Once a month, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll talk about some terrain stuff because one of our usual people may not be around for the next one. And now I've just realised I'm developing this interesting collection of mats. So that was one side. As for the other, yeah, definitely not too bad. That'll be very cool. And as I said, I mean, it's a decent enough stock. It's like not a completely hard stock. I think there have been previous things that have had harder stock. bases, but yeah, the fact that it came with a magazine is still pretty cool, so can't complain. Anyway, final thing, so pretty much the included base for the Technomancer, 50mm, does look like it needs a little bit of cleaning up. In fact, I've kind of just done it right off the bat. Don't need that on the mat. And then we get the 2 runners for the Technomancer. So that's one side, and then that is the other. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning, based on how I plan to paint my Necrons, it'd be interesting to see how I do this one, because yeah, I'm a little bit dubious about having so much black on the model. I mean, time will tell, I'm not going to be painting this anytime soon, but still, decisions to be made at some point. But anyway, that does look very cool. So that's pretty much the included sprue of the Technomancer. Okay, so that pretty much wraps things up for the page through and look at the inclusions of issue 18 of Imperium. Definitely like how the series is unfolding. Obviously by the end of it I'm going to have, you know, a decent sized collection of Marines and Necrons, so I can definitely not say that I don't have any options for an army. Yeah, definitely see how things go. I still need to get a painting desk, which is probably my next biggest conundrum. Thank you very much for watching this video for Imperium issue 18. Feel free to do the usual like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. It does help support the channel and I do appreciate it. Extra stuff can be found on my Instagram as well as the YouTube community post page as well. It is going to start, you know, flipping between back to 40k and not 40k stuff, so either way, feel free to check things out. With that all being said, stay safe and take care, and I'll catch you all in potentially next week's Imperium issue, possibly another 40k related video on the channel, or just something else on the channel in general. See ya.